Melee bruiser top laners are the kings of patch 10.6. This is due to both the itemization buffs that melee top laners received in 10.5, as well as the tower plating buffs. While they did receive multiple changes to multiple different items, none were bigger than the Blade of the Ruined King changes. So today we're going to be going over 7 different champions that you can use through patch 10.6 that will be abusing the brand new Blade of the Ruined King. Now, if you haven't already, make sure to check out our website, gamelead.com. There we have hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses that are going to cover a lot of the champions mentioned in this video. So if you are looking to perfect some of your gameplay, maybe on Renekton for example, we've got a course there for you. You can check us out using the link in the description below. Now with all this being said, I'm very excited to be back, so let's get right into the video. I do want to kick off saying that most of these picks are going to be top lane picks, but we do have 2 junglers, and those are going to be Master Yi and on-hit Shyvana. Master Yi is going to scale just that much quicker, and he's going to be a lot more terrifying when he has his Blood Razor, his Blade of the Ruined King, and his Ginsu's Rage Blade. Having these 3 core items on Yi is going to make it so that pretty much nothing is going to be able to match him in the side lane. And if he has a little bit of support, say a Taric or a Lulu on his team, he's going to be able to 1v5 a team fight. Now, Yi was in absolutely no way, shape, or form struggling to do these things before the Blade of the Ruined King buffs, but after them, he's going to be that much better at it. On the bright side, you usually won't have to worry too much about Master Yi because that champion does need a team to be built around him in order for him to be oppressive, and if you do see an enemy team lock in Yi, Taric, and Morgana, you can always just dodge. The other jungle pick, on the other hand, on-hit Shyvana, is going to be a little bit more scary. You see, Shyvana doesn't really need any additional utility from her team. She's able to get everything she needs from her kit alone. Now, on top of these Blade of the Ruined King buffs, on-hit Shyvana typically will also take Titanic Hydra and then build super tanky, meaning she's going to be double dipping on these item buffs. Add to this the fact that Shyvana takes early dragons very quickly and easily and gets additional stats from them. You should be very careful when playing against Shyvana and pick it up for yourself if you haven't already. On-hit Shyvana is a very simple jungler to play, especially for all of you top laners out there. She's very similar to other bruiser top laners, and her main focus is farming and taking objectives. You don't need to gank nearly as much as something like Elise or Lee Sin. When I was first learning the game and could pretty much only play top lane, jungle Shyvana was my secondary pick if I was forced to jungle, which was my secondary role. The nice thing about Shyvana is if you are especially lacking in magic damage on your team or you need some ranged poke, you have the additional option of instead of going on hit, you can go AP Shyvana. Now with the junglers out of the way, let's get to the main topic, the top laners. This is what you guys are all here for. And our first top laner that we're going to mention is going to be Renekton. This is probably the best user of Blade of the Ruined King in the entire game. The reason behind this is Renekton's W is an auto attack reset, but on top of that, it applies on-hit effects 2 times or 3 times if empowered. This means that if you have an empowered W on Renekton, you can auto use your empowered W and then get an additional auto for free right afterwards because the target is going to be stunned. That's 5 auto attacks in the span of less than a second. Even other champions that have an auto attack reset and take lethal tempo cannot match this amount of on-hit effects in this amount of time. Even if you're deciding to go full tank on Renekton, you should at the very least always get a Blade of the Ruined King. This item is going to give you so much damage and you really can't miss out on it. The build that I'm going to recommend to most people is going to be a Black Cleaver into Blade of the Ruined King, Sterix Gauge, GA, and whatever boots you need, either Tabby or Merc Treads. Now, as a 5th item, it gets a little bit tricky when it comes to Renekton. This is because most Renekton players do itemize Tiamat, and while it's not a necessity, most players are used to it. If you are a player that does like Tiamat on Renekton, then by all means, either go Titanic or Ravenous, both are going to be good. Personally, I prefer Titanic, gives you a little bit more HP, another auto attack reset, which gives you even more Blade of the Ruined King procs, and on top of it all, gives you some pretty good AoE on the active. Now, something that I have been trying lately on Renekton is just completely ditching the Tiamat. Renekton really doesn't need the additional wave clear, so he's just investing 1300 gold into an item that doesn't give him all that much. It's just going to delay your Black Cleaver power spike that much more, making matchups like Irelia and Camille more difficult than they need to be. Now, what I have been replacing the early Tiamat with is an early serrated Dirk instead. This is going to give you so much more damage in a trade. Again, you don't really need health at level 6 because your ultimate is going to be giving you that, and it's going to give you an opportunity to kill a lot of lanes that you normally wouldn't be able to with a Tiamat. You don't need the serrated Dirk to be upgraded early on into the game, and you can just leave it there, finishing your other items, either Black Cleaver if you need additional health, or a straight Blade of the Rune King Rush if you don't. When you combine these three items, Serrated Dirk with its flat pen, Black Cleaver with its percent shred, and Blade of the Rune King with all of its base damage, you're going to have so much damage you can kill pretty much anything. It doesn't matter if they're a high armor target. Serrated Dirk is also going to give you more damage to towers, allowing you to get more of those plates early on. If you combine that with Demolish in the Resolve tree, then you're going to be getting a lot more gold than you would normally be getting. This allows you to finish those expensive items like Blade of the Rune King and Black Cleaver very early on into the game, giving you a very early power spike. The later build looks identical to other Renekton builds where you want Steric's Gauge, GA, and then last, instead of a Titanic item, you can either go Edge of Night for a spell shield and some additional health, or a Ghost Blade, which is going to give you more movement speed and mobility around the map. Remember, Renekton is the best user of Blade of the Rune King in the entire game by far, so if you're not already playing him, then you definitely should. He's probably the best side laner in the game at the moment. There are very few champions that can actually match him in a side lane, split pushing later on into the game, and the only ones that can only can because they are a specific counterpick, like Jax, for example. Speaking of Jax, he is another one of those users of Blade of the Rune King that's actually going to start building the item much more frequently. It's not going to be in every single game like for Renekton, but it's going to be a much more tantalizing option for him. Historically, Blade of the Rune King has been a core item for Jax, but better items have started to become more favored by Jax players. There has been a Trinity Black Cleaver build that's been going around, giving him a lot of health, a lot of damage, and a lot of CDR. This is still going to be a very, very strong build, and you can even build Blade of the Rune King on top of this. The only real downside to this is it's a very expensive build. There's also the fact that if you go Trinity Force and Black Cleaver, you're going to have to make a choice on what item you want to leave out of your build. It's going to be either Titanic Hydra, Steric's Gauge, Blade of the Rune King, or GA. You're not going to be able to take all of them because you still need a slot for boots. Thankfully, this problem is pretty easily solved. Generally, what you would do here is you would trade out your Steric's Gauge for a GA whenever your GA is off cooldown, and then once you pop your GA, you sell it for a Steric's. Honestly, in most of your games, you're not going to be getting to full build, so you won't really need to worry about this anyways. Honestly, you don't really even need a defensive item if you're going with this Trinity Force into Black Cleaver build, because you're going to have so much health and CDR, you're going to be so safe anyways. Throw a Blade of the Rune King on top of that, and you're going to be out dueling pretty much any other champion. Jax is one of those champions where they're pretty much always in a good place in the meta, which is why they are a staple pick for almost every top laner in high elo. If you are looking to improve your Jax gameplay, then make sure to check out our course on our website, gameleap.com. Even if you decide that, you know what, Jax is not the champion for you, and you decide that you want to learn a different champion, we've got courses on most of the champions mentioned in this guide, and we're constantly adding new courses. Remember that all of these courses are going to be designed by high elo challenger players just like myself. So if you want to climb the ladder as quickly as possible, this is going to be the best learning tool out there for you. This being said, let's get right back into it. Now, while we are on the topic of the Trinity Force Black Cleaver build, we should talk about the other champion that uses it exceptionally well, who's going to be Irelia. Irelia is also using this Trinity Force Black Cleaver build for the exact same reasons that Jax wants to. It gives 40% CDR, it gives a lot of HP, it gives you your Sheen proc, which gives you a lot more damage on towers and allows you to queue minions from a higher HP value. And on top of all of that, it means you don't have to invest into a Sterix Gauge really early on into the game, which is not especially a good item early on into the game. Now, with this being said, Irelia does not use Blade of the Ruined King as well as Jax does. It's still an okay item on her, but ever since the rework, her AD scalings warrant bigger items like Death's Dance much more over Blade of the Ruined King. I would really only go Blade of the Ruined King if you're going to be auto-attacking a ton against a very tanky target like Ornn or Malphite. That being said, if your only goal is to split push on Irelia and you just aren't interested in teamfighting, Blade of the Ruined King is going to be a great option. It most likely won't be core in every single one of her games, just like it won't be core in every single one of Jax's games, but it will be a valuable tool when you need it. Irelia should be focusing on this item again when she wants to split push, or if she's against an especially tanky team. Next up, we've got a pick that I guarantee you guys didn't see coming, and that's gonna be Dr. Mundo. Wait, did you just hear me right? Did I just say that Dr. Mundo can build Blade of the Ruined King? Wait, hold on a minute. Dr. Mundo's a tank. Why would he build Blade of the Ruined King? That doesn't make any sense. Well, Dr. Mundo does do one thing better than pretty much any other champion in the entire game, and that's not dying. He heals so much in a fight, and he just sustains so much. He's probably one of the most annoying tanks to deal with because so many people need to itemize grievous wounds on your team, and if you don't, you're not gonna kill him. The only other tank that can match Dr. Mundo as far as how long they're going to live is probably Maokai. Here's the strange thing about Dr. Mundo. He doesn't really need to buy a whole lot of tank items to be tanky. He's never going to invest in 5 full tank items. That's just going to be a waste of gold. What you would see most Dr. Mundo's build instead is 4 tank items with 1 damage item. This allows them to walk into the backline without dying and actually just kill the carries. Now, typically in the past, this item has been a wit's end, but you can also go for a Blade of the Ruined King if you're playing against slightly tankier targets, or if you need that a little bit of extra move speed that the Blade of the Ruined King active is going to give you in order to get onto the carry. Typically, your early items on Mundo are going to look like this: Sunfire, Spirit Visage, Thorn Mail, either Adaptive Helm if you are into heavy AP, or a Dead Man's Plate if you are not. If you're only playing against one mage that really isn't dealing all that much damage into you, the Spirit Visage is going to be enough to keep you full HP. This is because Mundo gets so much magic resist from his kit anyways, and he's going to be sustaining on top of it. A lot of mages aren't going to be focusing you down, so you probably won't need 2 magic resist items, but if you're playing into 4 AP, you might. Once that late game does come around, you are going to want to try out that Blade of the Ruined King purchase. A lot of targets are going to be very high HP because they're going to be high level, and on top of that, it's going to help you stop getting kited. Make sure you're using your E as an auto attack reset, and make sure that once you're on top of the target, you continue to use your Qs. Make sure you can stay on that target and keep autoing them. Now, we've gone over some junglers, some bruisers, a tank. Let's talk about another class of champions, and this is going to be the champions that kind of AFK split push, for lack of a better term. These bad boys are so annoying to deal with because they never show to a team fight, and they just push down your towers and constantly all in whoever is in the side lane. The 2 split pushers that use it better than pretty much any other split pushers in the game are going to be Tryndamere and Trundle. Now, just like with the Irelia example, Blade of the Ruined King won't be core in every single one of your games if you're playing Tryndamere. When you are playing against higher HP targets though, like for example a 4000 HP Renekton in the late game, Blade of the Ruined King is going to be doing quite a bit of work. Just the other week, I was out to lunch with Fog for the Win, probably the best Tryndamere player in all of North America, if not the world, and he said that Blade of the Ruined King was looking pretty tasty in some certain matchups. Trundle is one of those champions though, where if you just take their build at face value, you're probably not going to understand why the build works. So just judging Blade of the Ruined King off of the raw stats it gives might not be an accurate representation of how good the item is on him. This is for sure a pick that's going to be needing a little bit more attention. Gonna have to observe and see whether or not Blade of the Ruined King truly becomes core in every single one of his games, or if it is just a niche pick against, again, those high HP tanky targets. Now the other AFK split pusher is going to be Trundle. Trundle is definitely geared towards a much more early game split pusher as opposed to Trundle. The reason behind this is he wins pretty much any 1v1 against other full melee stats, even from level 1. The only reason why Trundle is so strong at split pushing is because all he does is steal your stats and beat you to death with them. It's that simple. On top of this, Trundle's Q applies on towers, meaning once he finishes beating you to death with your stats, he's gonna start beating your tower to death with your stats. His Q is such a low cooldown that he can actually just take a tower from full HP if he kills you. I'm not even exaggerating. With Trinity Force and his Q fully maxed, he will melt a tower after killing you from 100%. In fact, even early on into the game, before he even maxes his Q, if he's able to force you back or kill you with a Sheen, he's able to just take like 3 plates. It's actually kind of disgusting because if you just make 2 mistakes against Trundle, he's going to take your full tower. He's going to take straight up first tower at like 9 minutes into the game. This happens very frequently. I've played a lot of Trundle, and oftentimes I'm taking the tower at 9 to 10 minutes because all I do is fight the enemy top laner, kill them, and then take their tower. And then once you've taken their tower, you've gotten so juiced from turret plating gold that you have like a full Trinity Force and nobody can contest you, and then you take another tower, and then you get Rift Herald, then you use Rift Herald top lane, and you're sitting at the enemy's inhib at like 16 minutes. It's probably one of the most snowbally picks in the game. He doesn't scale well at all. Don't get me wrong, he's not a great pick if you go past like 25 minutes, but with the current meta, he's one of the best split pushers in the entire game. Now, why is Blade of the Ruined King so good on Trundle? Well, the reason is very simple. Trundle gets a ton of attack speed from his W, and his Q is an auto attack reset. On top of that, Trundle is one of the only full melee champions in the game. His only damage, aside from melee range, is his ultimate, so he needs to be directly on top of you in order to be dealing damage. Blade of the Ruined King is going to help a lot with this. He doesn't have mobility like Renekton to get on top of you, so he relies on raw movement speed. If you're sick of playing against stupid stat check champions that just beat you because they have better stats than you, then Trundle is going to be a fantastic pick into those picks. With a little bit of practice, he can easily beat Darius, he can easily beat Garen, he beats Ornn very handedly. Like, this champion just doesn't really lose 1v1s very frequently. If you're a lower rated player and you want free low, just play Trundle in all of your games, rush a Trinity Force, go straight into Blade of the Ruined King next, go tanky after that, and you will just split push the whole game. Nothing can 1v1 you, nothing can match your pressure. If they leave you alone for like 10 seconds on a tower, you take the full tower. There is very, very little counterplay in lower elos because lower elos don't really respect split pushing. That's all that I've got for you for today. Did I miss a champion who uses Blade of the Ruined King better than most other champions? Let me know in a comment down below. If you haven't already, then make sure to check out our website, gameleap.com. Over there, we've got hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We've got courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses, so if that is something that interests you, then make sure to check us out using the link in the description below. As always, I'm Panther, I hope you learned something valuable, and I'll see you in the next one.